I remember waking up early in the morning at around 6 a.m. I got to use the restroom and then get some water. And then I remember going, I was going to go back to bed, but my mom wanted to let me know about the update with the fence project that she's currently working on, how that's going. And she told me everything about it. And I was like, all right, pretty cool. And then I went back to sleep in my room. Um, and then I woke up later at around, I'd say like 9:30, something like that, or 9 o'clock. And when I got up, uh, my mom needed to go to work. So I decided to go in my car because my car was parked behind her, drive out from behind her, and then park on the side of the street. So that way anyone could come in or out of the driveway as they pleased. Then I got out of my car, I went into the house, and I decided to turn on the television in my room and uh, turn on the PlayStation 4, where I went on YouTube and I was trying to find something interesting for me to watch. I ended up coming across this. What was it called again? Hmm. I don't know why, but I'm having trouble remembering what it was. I remember it had something to do with. Oh, right. Digital Foundry. John Letterman recently did an overview of the latest Halo. What was it called? Halo Combat Evolved demo that was recently released. It was basically just covering the art style and comparing and contrasting it with the Halo Anniversary Edition, and saying which one he likes better in terms of art direction, and compare and contrast it with the original Halo. And yeah, it's looking like this new version is definitely trying to pay better homage to the original, and they even did some alterations with the layout and mechanics. For example, in the original, when you grabbed a power up, you got the power up immediately. But in this new one, when you grab a power up, you store it away, and then you can choose to use it however you like later. So that's very good. Um, and then there was this one scene where the warthog that you drove around in the original was blocked by a tree, but if you finagled your way past the tree, you could go through that location with the warthog. However, in this new version, they just straight up removed the tree because they expected people to do that anyways. So, yeah, they could have easily made so there's no way to get past it and you have to go on foot. But they decided to give the players a bit more freedom, I suppose. Interesting. Um, and yeah, that was pretty much it. He just showed various different scenes side by side and how the art direction has been changed. Pretty interesting video. I decided to have some toast with some raspberry jelly on top while watching it because that sounded good to me. So I had that. And then I decided to have two hash browns that I air fried. I preheated the air fryer to 400 degrees for like 5 minutes before putting them in. I remember when I put them inside the air fryer, I heard that sizzle because it was preheated. And then I heated it for like 12 minutes. Probably should have done just let them in there and cooked, but I thought because normally I flip hash browns when I cooked them in like the air fryer oven in the back room. I was like, okay, well maybe I'll flip them in this air fryer, this one that was smaller. But when the final version came out, they were a bit softer than I would like. They still had a bit of a crispiness to them, but they weren't as crispy as I would like. So next time, I either will just leave them uninterrupted or cook them for a minute longer. Yeah, and I had that while watching another Digital Foundry video, and this one was about the Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, where they were just covering various different titles that were being announced. There was a Stellar Blade sequel. There was Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, the final part. So that trilogy's coming to an end. And there was a brand new game that's being released by, I think, called Studio Monolith. The people or studio called Studio Monolith. They made like very iconic titles for the Sony PlayStation systems, like Shadow of the Colossus, and what was that other one? Ico, and they also did that weird PlayStation 3 turn PlayStation 4 game, The Last Guardian, and that was like their last game they made. And this is their first game. I forget what it was even called because I was just paying attention to what they were talking about with the art style and the visuals being shown. But the actual game itself, I don't remember the name of it right now. Apparently, they're using UE5 though as the main engine because it's a smaller team, and Epic is publishing the game instead of Sony, which means this game will be multi-platform. On one hand, that is good that such a prestigious studio is their game's going to be able to be played by everyone everywhere. You don't have to own a Sony platform to play the game. But on the other hand, it does show that if Sony was uncomfortable with funding this game or publishing it, like they did the Team Ico, or it wasn't Studio Monolith, it was Team Ico, I think. Yeah, my bad. Sorry for misinforming. But Team Ico's previous titles, um, they funded those because I think that was the time when Sony was willing to be bold and courageous and artistic with their releases. I feel like Sony has, in recent years, become way too obsessed with being hyper westernized. Um, and I think it's kind of backfired on them because the whole point people went with Sony was like, I mean, yeah, you had some stellar first party, you know, story driven titles, but at the same time you also had interesting, fun, like weird experiments like that. No, like people would be like, well, this is weird, but I kind of like it for some reason. Like Katamari Damacy and Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and you know other weird experimental games that I'm not remembering off the top of my head right now. But yeah, they did a bunch of weird, interesting, cool stuff. And I feel like in recent years, Sony's been extremely obsessed with chasing, like, we need to be the epic, like, gamer dad bro audience people. We like, Xboxes. We need to make sure we have, like, always online, shooter games. We need to have everything have a super hyper realistic art style, and we need to make sure everything is just like, about dads or like, you know, male figures coming of age or whatever. I don't know. Ultimately, I feel like Sony's kind of lost their identity. You saw the last remnants of the classic Sony era's identity throughout the early PS4 era, with stuff like The Last Guardian releasing, and there was probably a few other titles that were very experimental that I'm forgetting right now during the early PS4 years. But then after certain point, it feels like Sony kind of pivoted away to try to be mass market appealing. And I mean, I understand why money and, they want to remain relevant and in like the big console base. But, I think what makes a console great is just how much diversity it has in its output. You don't want every game to feel and look the same. And yeah, it's a shame that this is Team Ico's first joint without Sony. It sort of indicates that Sony's unwilling to be bold and experimental, and they're more comfortable with trying tried and true formulas instead. So that's kind of a shame. But hey, I mean, at least we're getting a new Team Ico game, so that's nice. And at least everyone can play it too, so that's great. That's really good. Though the trailer does have me worried because there are some frame rate drops in it that seem a little, too much, but I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, that was probably the most interesting game that they talked about. But yeah, after watching a bit of that, it was starting to get a bit late, and I knew I needed to do something for work, like something meal related, because I had spent like $4 and like 72 cents for my last two meals each. So like I didn't want to spend a lot today. I wanted to bring food to work, so I decided to spend my last hour before going to work making spaghetti, meatballs, and tomato sauce, and mixing that all up together, and yeah, putting some Parmesan on it, and putting it in a glass bowl, putting aluminum over it, and then leaving. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I am completely blanking out on this huge chunk of time I spent today where I decided to spend a long time writing this comment on the website Cartoon Brew under this new Pixar trailer for this new film they announced called Gato. I think it's Gatto. Is it Gatto? Gatto? Something like that. And I was expressing my opinions on it. And I posted the comment, and it said it was awaiting moderation. It's like, cool. Then I told my sister what I had been doing for a while, like writing this comment, trying to articulate my thoughts and feelings about like what I think of this teaser. Then I check the website. My comment has not been posted. I'm like, what? How come it's not been posted? That's weird. So I try to say in my next comment, hey, what do you call those? Moderator. I'm not sure what's the issue. This seems like a fine comment to me. I'm not being like mean or vile or anything. I'm just sharing my opinion. So, here's the comment. I just sent it to see what would happen. I see no reason to not post it. It's a perfectly fine comment. Like, no issues whatsoever with it. But yeah, I told my sister like how I felt about the new teaser. I wanted to compare and contrast the two other Pixar teasers from years before, like Cars and Ratatouille, and then comparing them with this new Gatto trailer or teaser. So we watched those, we discussed them. I got really into it, and then after that, yeah, that's when I made my lunch for work. So yeah, and my sister did give me some churros and some coffee, or I made some coffee and she gave me a churro. I heated up in the air fryer for like 350 degrees for 3 minutes. It was really good. It made the house smell very nice. And yeah, we ate those churros, had the coffee, watched those teasers, and talked about it. It was pretty good. And then I got my meal ready for work and put it away. Was ready, got dressed. Told my sister loved her. My mom was at work, otherwise I would have said the same thing. And then I drove off to work. I eventually had arrived, and I got out with my meal. I punched in. I brought my meal upstairs into the break room into the fridge, put it away, went down, checked the schedule, was on sweeps all day, put on my sweet vests, and yeah, there's not really much to say in terms of anything new. Sweet produce, talked with a coworker, had an interesting chat. Um, Found out they had a turtle, which was pretty cool. It all came about by like talking about what animal it would be, and like I remember like that coworker said they'd be a frog, and then I said I would be a tortoise. I was like, yeah, that's pretty fun. And yeah, sweeped the floors and sweeped the break room and sweeped the store floor, and then bagged. Took orders out to the parking lot to be loaded up on customers waiting in their cars. Took my first break, did some deep breath work after putting my magnetic phone case away in my car because I accidentally took it with me in my pocket. Felt nice and relaxed after that. The breath work, and then I went back in my vest into the store, continued doing my duties until eventually, punching in sweeps till it was time to take out the trash. So I took out the front end trashes, um, the office trash, the check stand trash, the break room trash, the bathroom trashes, the janitor's trash, and the back gate trash. I saw one of my co-managers, and I asked them if it'd be okay if I showed them this silly little video, and they're like, sure. So I showed them, and they got a big kick out of that, and that was pretty funny and fun. And then I opened the back gate, took out the trash. It was then time to eat, so I went up, closed the gate, punched in for lunch. I decided to get a bolio. I know I said I wanted to not buy anything today, but I decided to buy a bolio because I wanted to have a spaghetti sandwich of all things. And I went upstairs. I wrapped the bolio in paper towel. I heated in the microwave for like 20 seconds. I took it out. It was like very nice and warm. I put my spaghetti in the microwave, warmed it up, stirred it, warmed it up again, stirred it until it was the perfect temperature. And I watched the Simeon Jimmy Wheel of Torture video. That was pretty funny. There was like various different things they were doing. Like we continued with Eggy making like this weird cocktail that it was so gross he couldn't do it and was defeated by it. There was one of Simeon Jimmy. Sorry. Stepping on some spikes, and that was pretty crazy. Woo! It made me wince just looking at it. And yeah, there was also something else. I think there was a I'm forgetting what happened after that, but it was a pretty entertaining video. After watching that for a bit, I finished my meal. I had hot Cheetos, and some chips, and then my last Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar in a bottle. Then I went downstairs. I punched back in. The last amount of time was spent spreading bags evenly throughout each of the check stands. Actually, I was asked to bring bags up to the front. I went into the back to see what bags there were there. There was only 2 packages of bags left out of the whole store, so there wasn't many bags left at all. So I did my best to spread that around the most used check stands. And then at the end of the day, I tried to split the bags as much as I could evenly throughout all the check stands because we were out of bags. I then wiped down each of the check stands. I then helped bag quite a lot. Like there was one customer that bought like $850 worth of groceries with her daughter. It was like a lot. Like holy cow, there was just like insane amounts. It was enough to fill like three large cartfuls, and it was mostly like frozen food. So I was like, dang, that's an insane amount of food. It must be a rich family. Um, yeah, so that was pretty interesting. And yeah, just continued bagging, wiping check stands, and pretty much it. Pu- Punched out, said goodnight to my co-manager and one of my coworkers. I got my bowl upstairs so I could take it home. Gave my co-manager a fist bump, went in my car, drove off to home, arrived home, um, listened to some spooky stories while eating some honey bunches of oats um, with some milk, and then my last two baklavas with a cup of coffee. Um, Took my vitamins, brushed my teeth, uh, used the restroom, and then after that, I decided to make this video. Did a bit of video watching before this. I was watching a Scooby Doo movie clip. You know, that movie called Scoob. Looked okay, I guess. Um, yeah. All right. Well, that's about it for now. I am sleepy, so I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody, and have a good night. Bye bye.